Hi, everyone. Welcome to the new episode of Tech Careers Podcast. Today, I have a guest all the way from Rome, and you might have heard him on Twitter Spaces because he's pretty active on Twitter. And he also runs a community which is pretty active. You might also know him as a Docker captain. And he also, like me, works in developer relations. So please join me in welcoming Francesco all the way from Rome.
Everyone, am I audible? Oh, yes. So, hi everyone, I'm Francesco, currently developer advocate at dailydotdev, very active on social media, public speaker, community builder, Twitter space addicted. I don't know. Thank you so much for inviting me, and let's get started.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think, Francesco, I saw you on Twitter almost 2 years ago. And that's when I was pretty active. COVID hit, didn't have a lot of social life, so started seeing social media. And like the growth I've seen with your account, it's just crazy. Not only, I think we always get into these numbers game, but with you, it was like you were providing value when it came to DevOps, and then you shifted your focus towards Web3. You also started a new DevRel role during this period, and just the journey. I was like, how is how is Francesco doing all of this? Being a Docker captain and being so active in the community. I know you have a 4C community that's pretty, like, I see people joining in and getting mentorship and help. So yeah, like what motivates you to be you, like what motivates you to get up in the morning? I know you are an early riser, right? You get up pretty early. What motivates you to like get up from your bed and like show up at the desk? Because I know, and we will dive into this because we were talking off recording about motivation and the passion we have, and like burnout and imposter syndrome, all of that can get into your head. But yeah, just tell me, like, what gets you up in the morning and to your desk?
Nice. So many questions. So we need some time. So what motivates me? So to be honest, I've been a motivator for the most of my life. Before stepping into tech, I was a volleyball coach. So motivating me is very hard because I'm used to motivate someone else. It's like if someone is a cooker, it's hard to cook for them because they want to do that. So it's very hard to motivate me. Like if you want try to motivate me, it always feels strange. For me, it's I would not call it motivation because I just do it. It's about having freedom to do whatever I want. So I understood that using social, this is something that I understood just three years ago. Using social media, I have the freedom of doing whatever I want. Now, for example, I'm doing this amazing podcast with you. I did something some hours ago. I published another video. So for me, freedom is equal to I can do many things. And for me, I understood 7 years ago when I stepped into tech that getting up early gets more thing. I can get more things done. Before that, it was impossible for me. First of all, because I was working in a gym until 11 p.m. I was also used to play video games until 2, 3 a.m. So maybe I went to sleep at 4, 5 a.m. But then I noticed that I'm very productive in the morning and not productive at all after dinner. And this is still true. If I wake up after dinner, after 8 p.m., I stop being productive. I can still stay a bit on Twitter. I can check a couple of emails. So based on that, I turned myself into an early bird. Many people, they know me as the 4 a.m. guy, but it's something that I got used to, and it has been probably the most game-changing thing of my life for a simple reason. I have the perception of doing many things. At 11 a.m., 12 a.m., 12 at noon, I already got many things done. And this gives me, I don't know, it boosts my morale. Of course, then I fall asleep at 9 p.m., but it's okay for me. So it's all about boosting the morale. And I think this has been the biggest game-changing habit of my life, especially in the last 7 years. And we know that we need a lot of time to understand things, especially into tech, especially if we do this in private, like I did.
Yeah.
We need a lot of time. So this is the main reason. And of course, to be connected with developers. So I wake up as soon as possible to start engaging with basically everyone.
Yeah. No, that is a great point. So like the idea I get is that, building a habit and being consistent is like what matters rather than, finding that motivation or that motivational factor to just get up. I think that's the same with me, that I developed a habit in COVID to just make a schedule because it was hard to, have like limitations and stuff, because now you're at home, you could, play video games, you could watch movies, you could do anything because you're at home, no one is kind of watching you. So yeah, it was hard, but if you build like a schedule or different set of habits that, hey, I'm gonna wake up at, it doesn't have to be 5, because for me, it is like 7 or 8. So I wake up around 7 and 8. But I'm pretty close to what you have said. I can't work past like 10 or after dinner because I'm just exhausted and I want to like wind down and sleep. So that's great. I think having a schedule and having that consistent and growth mindset will really help you. So now I want to like dive and go back into the past, right? I want to make this segue into like, need to know what your background was. Great mention of that you were a volleyball coach, because I have a match. I play at a local league, local competitive league. I play volleyball myself. And I have a match in like 6 hours from now. So that's really interesting. But yeah, tell me like, how was your, if you want to dive into it, like tell me how was your like childhood? Were you, someone who was interested into computers or games or electronics? I had that interest. I'll, I'll I'll leave it to you.
Okay, so we need that list for hours. So I'll try to synthesize the things. Otherwise, so this
Yeah,
would
yeah,
be a playlist of Francesco's episodes. So my first PC that I got at home, it was a Commodore 64. Yes, I'm 39. I'll be 40 in a couple of some months. So this is how I got started. My first approach with PCs. Then I went to some Pentium personal computers. I was the first person in my class of having internet. That was 12, so it was a 95. It was very hard for me to explain to my
I can
little
imagine.
students what internet is. And of course, I didn't have a huge understanding, being 12, of what the internet was. But I understood that it was something very powerful. Let's go a bit faster. At 15, I became a volleyball coach. So I was used to play volleyball since I was 8. And at 15, I became a volleyball coach. And I've been a volleyball coach from 15 to 32. So basically almost 20 years. This was basically my life.
I see.
And but I both of my parents are teachers. My father is also a coach in schools, and my mother is a math teacher. So I got something from both of them, and basically we have been talking about school for all my childhood. So we were always talking about school, education. So I have some teaching. Also, 3 out of 4 of my grandparents, they were teachers. So a family of teachers. So but I liked being a volleyball coach, but in the meanwhile, I was studying. I was attending a computer science degree, but mostly because I liked more math than physics. I was almost very close to switch to just math at some point, for the simple reason that I didn't like coding. So now maybe you will laugh, but because for me, coding, it was something boring. It was something very boring. I think like I'm used to play in the gyms, people shouting balls. So for me, thinking about having as a job, sitting on a chair in an office, because this is how I figured it out. I wasn't even thinking about working remotely. It was scary, scary as hell. So I kept working in the gym for many, many years. But at some point, something happened. I'll try to do the fast version. I was almost 31, 32, don't remember. In 2015, I made an exam at the university. I was almost done. And I passed the exam, but my professor told me like the coding part was not very good. The theory was very good. So he said Francesco, the theory is okay. You passed the exam, not with max grades, but you will never be a developer, because this is what you would really need to to become a developer.
Hmm.
So I still remember this hit me like inside. So while I was coming back home, I said, so maybe he's true or maybe he's not. Let's see. So I came back home. By the way, this is way before any social media. I hated social media
Okay.
in 2015. So I hated social media, video, live stream. Not you, of course, but I hated all this word, because for me, social media, it was equal to wasting your time. So it was like relaxing on the couch after having a hard day. So basically wasting time, like watching television passively. This was my idea of social media. We can say that it changed a bit. And so I actually decided to become a developer. So I was doing the computer science degree. I was just missing some exams. But I'll tell you a secret. In computer science degree, at least in which I did, they don't teach you how to code. They teach you algorithms, math, physics, chemistry, things that have not much to do with software development. I never heard about Docker in the university, for example. So I started coding alone. So I was doing the university, and at some point I decided also to quit the job as a volleyball coach. It was one of the hardest decisions of my life, because I wanted to become a developer, and I started probably in the hardest possible way, because I decided, okay, now I want to become a developer. How do I do that? I literally Googled that, like ways to become developers. It sounds funny, but it is. And so I started being watching game development. So Unity 3D, C Sharp, one of the hardest possible ways. But and my life has never been easy. So I started with probably I would never recommend to start with that. But it was a bit engaging. I really needed the engaging part. Otherwise, I would have never started. And so this is how it started. Of course, no hard feelings with the professor, but I started coding like 6-8 hours per day. Started understanding all the concepts, API, backend. Then I went into containers. So this is basically how I decided to basically unblock myself and really dive deep into the tech world. Because before I didn't have like a precise idea.
Yeah.
I had an experience in 2011. We can talk about that, but this is like I usually talk about my experience in tech from 2015. So this is as short as I can say it.
No, great. Yeah, those are some great, I think, pointers there. And like, no, I know I was smiling in between, but I didn't mean to be like, take it as a joke or no, because I did the same thing. So my education was computer networking, and it was only a diploma. And as soon as I graduated, I got into help desk, and I didn't want to stay there. So I literally Google searched that, how to be a better developer or how to get better at coding, because, it's hard. I had the same thoughts when I was a teenager. Like, it's maths, it's, data structures, like there's just too much going on, and I don't want to be isolated, right? Like I love to be more social, and that's why I think like the community we have now, and I'm great, and part of it is we keep each other accountable. We thrive for growth, and we are seeing amazing content like from your channel. I know you recently interviewed Kelsey Hightower, which was great. I have this one problem. I don't know, everyone who is listening, go subscribe to Francesco's YouTube. I literally find out that he only has 13K subscribers. I'm like, what? Like, you deserve way more. Like, the quality of content and the consistency that I see on your channel is just crazy. But yeah, so those were some great insights into your, like how your mindset kind of got changed as you grew up, and like you were a coach for like several years of your like adult life, and then you decided, okay, no, I have to go figure out how I can be a developer, and you did. And I also think I resonate with what you said about college education, because I find it true. Like, it's not relevant to what's going on in the field, right? Like, I didn't know what GitHub was when I passed my diploma, and as soon as I entered cloud, they were like, oh, all our scripts are in GitHub. I'm like, what is like Git? So yeah, I get that point. And I'm gonna come back to the thing you mentioned, because I was amazed by that, is your first tech job, which I guess was back in 2011, and you were a Java software engineer.
You got me, Rachel. So this is like, I don't know, something of the past, we can say. So I was doing my computer science degree. That was basically an internship that I got during my computer science degree. So I tried. So I said, okay, so let's try this internship. And to be honest, this have been one of the most stressful, from at least from a career perspective, of my life. Not many people know this. You know this if you check my LinkedIn. Usually I don't talk about this. So if you want to we have this exclusive, you have to keep watching now. So in 2011, I was a volleyball coach. So I was working in a gym. But I wanted to try the developer experience because I'm curious. I say, okay, so let's see how it is. So I found this company, which was one of my university professors. It was about artificial intelligence, by the way. It's interesting because he had a degree in philosophy, but he was also an entrepreneur. So a kind of interesting person. Let's say, talking about AI in 2011, it was not as today, of course. The problem was that the internship, it was almost 100 kilometers with car every single day. I had to basically I could do less hours in my gym. And so basically my life, it was literally like this one. I was waking up at 6 a.m. at that point. Then I went to this job. I finished at 5 p.m. And then I went to the gym and working to the gym until 11 p.m. And I was also like cleaning the gym. Like at 10:30, I was still cleaning the gym. And then the day after, the same. So this was my life from Monday to Friday. And this was also an unpaid internship that lasted for 6 months. So for 6 months, this has been basically my life. So basically what I'm doing now is not even 1/4 of what I was doing. Maybe I was a bit younger, but the problem was that at the end of these 6 months, I remember that I just wanted to run away. So I stopped coding for 2 years. I said, okay, so this was a very bad experience. It was not bad because of the code. The company was great. Java, okay, whatever language is okay. The problem it was that I was also doing the university, so I was studying some hours. Then I was working, and then I was doing the internship, unpaid internship. This I didn't know about this term burnout before, but there are some degrees. But basically, I stopped coding for 2 years. I didn't code because I said, okay, so this is not my future. I don't like this. So I started again like 2013, 2014. So I really needed a break from development. It was not a great experience. I learned something, but maybe it was too much. Maybe I asked too much because to what I was doing. So I said, okay, so I'll see in the future. So I would highly recommend maybe to just decide what you want to do, because probably if I don't know, I think I try to do too many things at the same time, and this had an impact. Then basically you have to stop for one year because I said, okay, no, I need now to rest, take care of myself, and so this is something that usually don't share, but it's important, I think, to share if you ask me, because we should really understand which are our limits, because if we burn out or whatever, we are stressed, and then we have to stop for 6 months or 1 year, 2 years, maybe it was not worth. Now, even if I do many things, but like always, today I found 1 hour, I don't know, to go for a walk with my girlfriend because it's Valentine's Day today. So you always have to find the time for yourself. Otherwise, you will need more time to basically recharge yourself. So I try to stay in the loop. Even if I have a super busy day, I always find like at least 30 minutes to have a walk, to do something different. Because otherwise, after 3-4 days, you need a complete day off. I remember that when I was doing that, I was basically passing my weekends sleeping. So this was my weekend. Instead, now I'm more like, let's let's say, continuous phase when I also do some live streams during the weekends, events. I plan for the next week, which is amazing. So I think that since 2011, oh my God, it was 12 years ago. Now I know how to manage my time in a way better way. I hope that this has been useful for someone, especially if you are in a stressful moment of your life, because maybe working in a gym can be stressful for your body, but sitting on a chair, it's stressful for your mind, which is way worse. For a simple reason, if we go run, we are out of shape. We run after 5 kilometers, we are exhausted. If you're not used to stay sitting or studying, we can always get another coffee. We can always take a shower and keep going. But basically, our brain has not unlimited capacities for a day. It needs to recharge. It's a simple part of our body, but it's harder to get the signals. If you're just exhausted, you have to stop. You have cramps at some point with your muscles. So no more. Stop, Francesco. With our brain, we can try to keep going, but this can have an impact on our activities. And then basically at some point, we just want to quit. And we should try to avoid this to don't waste time.
No, definitely. No, great. I think that is a great, example for especially people who are in early career or are trying to switch, like who might be in similar scenario where they're working their like full-time job and then trying to get into internships or co-ops and trying to like self-study for like being a developer, any tech field, right? Burnout. I would say this: avoid burnout at all costs because it takes away so much time. I don't have like really interesting story as you, but I've been there, and it took me a few months to get back on track. And if you just need to find a good balance, think of things that need your time outside, your desk or your work. Like Francesco said, he like I believe that's why you are so consistent, and like that's why we see so much content that keeps coming even on weekends. You're on Twitter Spaces and like YouTube because you have that like balance, and that just keeps you going. Otherwise, it is easy to like get burned out if you have too much going on. No, great tips and great insight, and thank you for diving into the story that was in 2011, which is like 10, 12 years ago. I know. Yeah, I was surprised when I found that out. I'm like, oh, I knew that you were a coach for like majority of the time until like 2 or 3 years ago or 4 years ago, but I'm like, oh, there's this job. I don't know if like why does this exist on LinkedIn? I'm like, I want to find out what happened.
You got me. The thing is that I didn't stop being a coach in the meanwhile. So usually I don't use this on LinkedIn because I'm not more interested into finding a job.
Yes.
I have already enough people trying to hunt my head. So if I also add something related to gym, I also get some recruiters who propose me, I don't know, something. So this is why you always see my technical tech life, but that's it. So nice catch, Rishabh.
Awesome. So that was so that was an internship that was unpaid, but we can still kind of consider that was your intro to like tech and like actually working in a work environment where you were coding and getting used to this culture. So what would you say is, now that you're so successful and like have achieved a lot in the tech field, like what is one great thing that you like about this industry? And I'm gonna ask a follow-up question to like what is one bad or like most challenging thing that you think should change in the tech industry?
Okay, let's go one at a time because my memory is limited. So to be honest, I was shocked when I joined the first developers communities. I'm not talking about social media, but even in-person events. By the way, I'm from Rome, Italy, and I started going to some meetups, some events. I seem to attend some events. It was 2018, and also my job. But I started to see that developers community is really the best. Not saying this because I'm a developer advocate now, but the way people interact, the way people help each other finding a job, the way people, I don't know, give away solutions for free, Stack Overflow, GitHub. Never saw something like that in other communities. Maybe they don't even exist, the communities in some places. So this is what really shocked me, even before joining social media. So the people and how, and I always see that many people, they share this view. Of course, there are always exceptions. There are always exceptions, even if in the best community, in the best country, without criminals, there is always someone who is. But let's say that the vast majority of the people are here to help, to support. I mean, think about the number of free videos, free articles, free open source contributions. It's mind blowing. Nothing against. I have nothing against lawyers or other types of jobs. Maybe it's also because of the nature of the job, because you can sit at your PC. It's basically just your time, but time is our most valuable asset.
Yes.
So the mindset of the developers is mind blowing. Usually, once you start, you never go back. So this is the best part. So engaging with an amazing community. You know, something which is funny. When I started being active on social media, it was 2020. I created my first article. It was February 2020. My idea, it was to give back to the community. But I noticed that the more I create, the more I get back. So I always be in debt with this community. Also, I try to, I don't know, make dedicated videos, live streams. But the more I give back, the more I give, the more I get back. It's incredible. It's not something easy to explain, like how much people support you. When I went to the conferences, so basically every experience, it's always really out of the mind. It's really incredible. That's the best part. Bad part, I think that I don't like that. This kind of like unpaid internship. People they don't get what they deserve. I think there are so many valuable people that don't get fair salary.
Yes.
So people are always try to lowball developers. I don't like this. And also about inclusivity, there is something that I don't. I think it can still be done. There are some differences that I don't like, and this is the things that I think that can be improved. And I hope that in the future we will, at least we should go in the right direction. So this is what I think. But we are not perfect. I think it's very important to be careful on having basically everyone at the same level, because this is the beautiful, let's say, of the internet, the beautiful of having being all connected. We should always have, in an ideal world, we should always have the same opportunities. Now, this is probably not possible, but at least we should work on the differences. Like people from India, from Nigeria, that I know, super passionate people, but they have some like let's say some limitations. Salaries, they do work, and I don't like this. So I would like this to change. This is what this is one of the goals. Let's see.
That is a great, I guess, like challenge that we can try to like make like the tech community more accessible, the more equal and like fair ground that everybody can come in. Even though I totally resonate with what you said about how welcoming and how supportive the community is already, but yes, there are certain limitations when it comes to geographic or your background, and I think it'll take some time, but if we work towards it, I think with the support that this community has, I think we'll be able to achieve what you just said. Amazing. So, okay, I find you interesting because you kind of started. So I think 3 or 4 years ago, you were into DevOps, right? You were into containerization. I know you have DevOps consultant. You worked as a DevOps consultant for a year. And so how did you go from, being a developer or like coding to being I know you were a software engineer for like 5 months recent, like back in 2020 or 2019, and then you moved to DevOps. Like, how was that transition happen? How did you find out about DevOps? Like, you know, and then also if you can elaborate on the journey of being a Docker captain. I know a lot of the audience might be interested.
Yes, absolutely. Let me show some swag before we start. I got this because I'm a Docker captain. Okay, just sorry. So let's make things clear. So in 2017, so I started working hard to make this switch to tech in 2015. I made an interview in 2000 at the end, close at the end of 2017, and I remember that I'd been rejected, and it was another unpaid internship. Maybe I'm crazy, I don't know, but because I felt like way more knowledgeable. So let's say, okay, so let's start. Let's see this internship, how it goes, and I've been rejected because I didn't remember some SQL commands. Like join table.
Yeah.
The memory is not my best. Like, you have to tell me like the questions in order. Think about remembering and memory SQL commands. It's impossible for me. Being rejected for that second unpaid internship that probably would have put me like totally away from tech. It has been probably one of the best days of my life, at least from a career perspective. And I'll tell you why. I doubled down my efforts, like in learning, because again, I didn't want to give up. And after 2 or 3 months, I got an email from a university professor, another one. And in the email, it was also the professor I was working with for the thesis. He said, like, Francesco, would you like to work for the European Space Agency? I said, okay, so this is a joke. Like, I replied, like, okay, so this is a nice joke. Now let's talk about the thesis. I thought it was like a joke, like because my professor, it was kind of funny. So I'd say, okay, maybe
like sarcasm.
Yeah, it's sarcasm, because of course. So I remember that I said, like, okay, so this is a joke. Okay, now let's tell me like why you contacted me. He said, no, there is a chance to become a full stack developer there. Are you sure? Like, I know something. I know because I knew something, but. So I said, okay, so when you have nothing to lose, and like, if, I don't know, you have an audition, I don't know, for a billionaire film, I say, okay, I will never get frustrated for not, because if you aim too high, you say, I can just have a laugh, I will have just a trip, and then I can just move on. Also, one of my ideas was also to, let's get used to interviews. So say, like, I failed the past interview. I will never get hired here, but let's try maybe to see the process of interviews. So let's say it's okay. So I say, okay, yes, let's try. So I went to that interview, and I was lucky because I already knew like GitHub. I started checking Docker by myself, and the truth is that 3 days after the interview, I was working there. This was my first full-time role as a full stack engineer for the European Space Agency. So basically, I remember that I seated on this chair with the keyboard. It was the first time, let's say, after this experience as in the internship, there I was working full-time, so totally different. And I remember that I really felt as an imposter. This lasted for some time. But then I understood that like I knew something, so I had some knowledge because I always kept learning. Like, even when I went back home, I was checking video tutorials, and I was not on social media. So basically, all the time was just working and learning. This has been for around 3 years, for 2017 to 2020. I changed a bit, but let's say I worked there. Mostly there, so on LinkedIn you see something different, but I've always worked for the European Space Agency until 2020. And so this is the story of my first, let's say, role. So like first real role into tech, Node.js, full stack, DevOps stuff. And I always loved Docker way before joining social media. I thought it was something very niche, but I always loved the technology, and that's it. And then in 2020, I joined Twitter, and as I say, I started creating content. I saw some traction. The funny part, you know what? I remember that on the 5th of March 2020, that was the first things about pandemic, like in Italy, we were closed. But I made a good tweet. And I said, okay, so maybe there is something on social media. I don't know. It was something I can't even remember. It was, it was. I tweeted it was like 3 years ago, because in 2020 I've been rejected for no remember SQL commands, and now I'm working on Landsat 8, which is
Yes.
like a satellite for the for
I think I
the for the
remember that
NASA,
tweet.
for the NASA, yes. And I don't know, I got like a lot of traction. I
Yeah.
remember that I made the tweet while I was walking to work. I was just, sometimes you have this like very, let's say, authentic things, let's say,
Yeah, like
because it was
came to your mind, and
yeah, it was like, okay, so maybe this is a bit inspiring. I don't know, let's go. Like it was like a very, I don't know, I felt good that day. And so that tweet went well. I said, okay, so maybe, I don't know, maybe the social media I can actually get something good out of that. And before that, I was, by the way, this job at the European Space Agency, it was still 100 kilometers. I don't know. I always get jobs very far from my home. I don't know why. I don't know why. I remember, so I was doing like 3 hours of commute every day. And I remember that 2 days before me deciding to put effort on social media, the pandemic hit. So I started working from home. So I had at least 3 more hours per day.
Yes.
And also the time during the evenings and the weekends. So basically all my time of the commute and dinner outs and and going out with friends, it turned out into time on Twitter and social media.
I see.
And basically this we can say that this changed my life. Also in March 2020, I said, okay, so I want to dedicate time to social media, and in 1 year I want to quit this job because I wanted to work remotely. It was March 2020. In August 2020, I put my first video on YouTube, and in March 2021 I quit the job for the European Space Agency. So I still remember my parents, there was a bit against this idea, nothing against my parents, because my parents, as I said, they are teachers. For them, working remotely is something strange. Like,
Yes.
what are you doing? Like, you should work here, because for them, this is... But I have to say something, that my girlfriend, she always supported me. This is something, I'm not saying, and it's maybe it's a destiny that today it's also Valentine's Day. Having someone, a person who supports you, if you tell her, hey, I'm about to quit my full-time job because I want to stay on Twitter, basically, it could sound like super strange.
Yes.
Instead, she helped me to make the first video. She has always been super supportive. So this type of person, of support, because now it's easier. Now we say, oh, Francesco, you have many followers, you do this delivery job. Now it's easier because it's here.
It's here,
But before, there was nothing. So it's all hard work. So this is the short version. But having someone who can really support you when you have some crazy ideas, it can be game changing.
No, definitely. Yeah. Someone just to, say that, okay, yeah, I believe in your vision. Like, okay, I know, Francesco, you want to do this instead of what you're doing now. And just supporting, even though it may sound crazy at that time, but I think that's what brought you here. Is if you hadn't started back then, who knows like what the story would have been. Yeah, no, that is a great, I guess, insight into your journey basically. I am lucky enough that I have a really supportive wife who supports similar crazy decisions that I have been making. But I get it. I totally resonate with your parents might have been thinking, like, why are you leaving such a good job at space agency, and like, what is remote, like, is it a scam? Yeah.
Yes, I always say it's easier to leave to quit a bad job than quitting a good job. It's hard because if honestly, it was a good job, good people, 200 people, good open spaces where people are supportive. So nothing against this, but so it was even a hard decision. One of the main reasons was that I really wanted to step into content creation, open source, and basically The European Space Agency is the opposite. I'm sorry, but it's the opposite. So you have
Yes.
private repositories. Everything you do should be signed by a general. If you made some collaborations with NASA, every time you do that, you need the general sign because it's a private, it's a military entity. So every time it's private, and I had basically to split myself. Neo. Like in the morning, I was working there, and in the evening, I was on social media. And like this is not sustainable on the long term.
Yes.
Now I'm doing this podcast with you, but we can say that I'm still working. I have the Daily Dev logo here. I'm still kind of working and doing what I like. I am going in the right direction. Otherwise, you are splitting yourself and having basically two lives, which is not sustainable in the long term.
Yeah, it's it's two jobs basically. You're split, and it's harder to manage. And I get that. I guess like you couldn't even share what you were working on because of all the legalities and yeah.
Absolutely no.
Yeah, so it was not that you hated them. It was like the job is good, everything is good, but you wanted something different in your life, and that's what caused it. I get it. Awesome. So, okay. And I know we briefly touched on you had a computer science degree, so like the education part was covered, but it didn't, pay well, like it didn't turn out well for you because of the unpaid internship and also like what was being taught at the university. Maybe it was the method. And I know I can tell I've been working now in an institute to teach cloud. It's hard. You don't have it's not relevant to what's going on in the tech industry. Like the industry changes so fast and the curriculums are behind.
But I mean, maybe it's okay. Computer science degree is not meant to learn Vue.js.
Yes.
They should give you the basics of computer science. It's not a programming degree, it's computer science. So I see that sometimes there is this misconception that like you go on computer science and they'll teach you HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Sometimes I had the one exam, but like the 95% of the exams are our computer are done, operating system, computer networks, how HTTP works. It's theory. At least this was my experience. Yes. I didn't make all the universities in the world, but I saw that this is a sort of a broad idea. So basically, I think we can all say that all the developers are self-taught developers. Basically,
in a way, yes.
In a way. No, I'm saying like, so even a computer science degree is good because it can be good because some companies, I don't know why, I would never do this, they require a computer science degree as a blocker. This is wrong. I think this is wrong. If I ever have a billionaire company, this will never be a blocker because I know that I think one of the best instructors on the internet, they don't have a degree.
Oh, yeah.
Like I can mention, I'm not sure 100%, but I'm sure that many of them, they are super knowledgeable because the truth is that programming is a skill. Programming is like playing the piano. You can be a monster playing the guitar without having made the I don't know.
You don't need to major in music to play a piano.
Yeah, there is like a sort of music degree. Because programming is a skill. And I think that programming is the best when you use the programming with other skills like marketing, entrepreneurship, creating content. You can also be a programmer and be paid for programming because it's so good. It's a so required skill that you can be paid to program itself. But I think that we have the best when we mix programming with other skills. For example, now I'm mixing programming with creating content, with speaking at conferences. We're basically mixing things. And computer science, it's not meant to teach you programming. It's meant to teach some basics of computer science. It's called computer science.
No, that is a great I think way to put it because people get, and I think it's also this is what I want to discuss too is it's also part of the social media, right? Because imagine someone who doesn't know anything about computer science. They're a teenager, they want to pick a degree at college, and they see Twitter and TikTok and Instagram, YouTube that like computer science people are earning a lot of money and you can be a programmer, so I'll go get computer science degree. And I think that's where like the misconception is, like people need to do some research, I guess, and like this is great that you put it in the podcast that computer science basically doesn't mean that you might get hired as a programmer, because there are some skills you'll have to like dive deep into and develop yourself. And I think that's why like self-taught computer programming is possible, because it's a skill that you can develop. As Francesco said earlier, like there are so many amazing teachers that are doing this for free on YouTube and like other platforms, that you can just go and like take an entire course free on YouTube and learn how to code in Python, Ruby, whatever your preferred language is. Amazing, great insights, and like great way to put the idea behind like education being a blocker, I guess. Awesome. So my question to you, the next one is, what are you excited about? Because I've seen some Web3 content from you. I've seen some like Web3 videos and content from you, and now like AI taking, like it's trending right now. What is the technology that you are most excited about, like at least for this and like the next year that's coming?
Yes, of course. So the good thing of development is that you'll never get bored. I don't know you, Usha, but since I started the church learning tech, I never got bored a single day. It's always the opposite. We are overwhelmed with things to learn. Overwhelmed. You are in the cloud. So if you see, I don't know if you remember the page with all the DevOps tools.
Yes.
That's mind blowing. It makes you want to quit, basically.
Yes.
The DevOps, because you think that you have to learn them one by one, like chapters on a book. No,
it's too much.
We should, but it's like thinking that we want to watch all the YouTube videos. It doesn't make sense. We should get the opposite and say, okay, so there are so many things that we can learn, that we can choose. We should be very picky on what we want to choose in a period. Now, you are making me a very hard question, so probably I'll fail and we'll have some comments like, Francesco said this, is the opposite. But let's do this anyway. Today is the 14th of February, 2023. So I think that in the future, we'll see an increase of the blockchain technologies. So basically, the last year, we had the classic hype, like we had the hype of the AI in the 80s, in the 90s. So we are sort of hype, like everybody, if you don't have an NFT, you're basically out of the discussion. The idea is that now, since the hype went down, I'm basically, I don't want to say happy because someone lost some money in crypto, but we are trying to understand and get more conscious about how the blockchain will not save the world, but it's like an alternative. I see some analogies, for example, from the cloud and the blockchain. So sometimes there are some switches, and the cloud is not bad. It's a technology. Now, this can be used bad, this can be used well, and it's the same, sort of the same with the blockchain. So I think that in the future we will see more meaningful use cases of blockchains. We will have less hype and probably less blockchains. Currently, I think like 40 blockchains. We don't need, it's like we don't need 40, 50 blockchains, because creating a blockchain is not that hard. It's how creating another programming language. It's all about understanding the concepts, and we need adoption. So we are at a very early stage. But what I think is that I don't know, I am a kind of old style, so I don't think that the blockchain will replace 100% the current backend. I don't think that the current backend is gonna go away in a matter of 10 years. So we will still create the API, either with GraphQL or REST API. But we will have more systems and microservices when some services are basically connected with the blockchain. So blockchain will be a piece of a system. So addition. So I don't know. We will have some services that also have. You can, if you have a wallet, you can also connect with the wallet. Otherwise, you'll just use a part of the services. So it will be more integrated in existing systems. And then we will see there are also some new projects that are blockchain native, we can say. If we, like I'm using analogies with cloud, like cloud native tools, we have already blockchain native tools. Does it mean that they are good? We don't know. We will see. So we will have a more of like an integration between these two worlds, because basically a blockchain can't connect with
Yes.
the internet by default. There are something called oracles, but they don't natively they're not connected with the usual world. I don't think that they will replace it now. Probably blockchain will replace the word, and we will leave a bad comment. But this is my idea is that it's just another part of this. I remember people being super skeptic about Docker in 2017. I remember this because I was working and I was like advocating for Docker, even before I be the Docker captain. Many people say, no, this idea, no, containers, they're not good. Probably now I'm right, because we are seeing that, for example, the container technologies, they are starting to, I don't want to say disappear, but like being more visible. Like maybe you are using a container, but you don't even know that there is a container. So, and this is like the real adoption. Like you are using it, but you don't know.
You don't know.
And we will have similar experiences with blockchain. Maybe in the future we will have a blockchain, but you don't know. You don't need to know that you are using. The users, probably the users on Instagram, they don't know which cloud provider. I don't know which is the cloud provider that Instagram is using. Probably if I make a Google search, I will find out. But my idea is that we will go in this direction. About AI, I think 2023 will be the year of the AI. We are waiting for the Google's move. To be honest, I don't want to go back to the 90s, because in the 90s, we had a different search engine. If you are young enough, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you are young. Because like in the 90s and at the beginning of the 2000s, there were like 4, 5, 6 search engine. And what you had to do is to search on Google, search on Yahoo, search on... So you go search on 4 search engine. And now we are going back on that, on this. Because now people are Googling something, then they go on ChatGPT, probably now go Bing. So we are basically, I don't know if this is good or bad, but probably we are going into what was like 30 years ago, which is mind-blowing. But I think this can be good. I think what we should understand that at the end of the day, blockchain, AI, they are tools. People start advocating, fighting, saying this is bad. The only thing that maybe AI scares me is about the ethic part, because we don't know. You don't know. For example, I saw some artists publish something that probably the AI has been inspired, and AI is not inspired, but the people who programmed the AI. So probably in that case, we will see if this is something that they can use or not. So this is my only concern is this. So people like don't playing fair, let's say, with the creativity of the people. So this is something that I really don't like about the AI. Apart from this, I think we will live in exciting times, and I don't have a clear answer for this, but for sure we will not get bored.
Awesome. Yeah. So no, great. I love the analogy that you gave. Like the adoption analogy, where people don't even realize they're using the technology. I think that's when you hit that mark where, okay, this is in the backbone of the systems now, just like containers are now. So that was a great example to put it. Awesome. So I know we're hot on time. Just last thing, any tip or suggestion or advice you want to give to the listeners and the audience who are either pivoting into tech, because I know your story must have inspired a lot of students and a lot of individuals, professionals who want to enter tech and have non-tech background, self-taught. So anybody who is trying to enter tech, any tips or suggestions or advice you want to give?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, I thought when I was switching to tech, I thought that I was one of the few people switching to tech. I thought that like in 90% of the people, they have been being software developers since they were young, because this is, for example, my experience. I was like working in a gym for 20 years. I said, okay, so I'm switching on a place where everybody is a software developer, and I will be the only one crazy switcher. When I started making interviews, I found the opposite. People were opera singers, makeup artists, all the kind of jobs except developers. Like, I think that less than 10% of the people I interviewed on my channel, I interviewed almost 200 people, they were always being developers all their life. I think way less than 10%, like 1 out of 20. So don't feel alone if you want to switch to tech. I have this analogy that probably switching to tech is it's very similar to when you start playing a video game. Because I was playing video games, I don't know, like World of Warcraft or other play. So when you are new, okay, but if you keep going and keep learning, you can surpass people who have been in this field for 20 years. If you are new to tech, but you start learning technologies, you start learning the new stack, you are always up to date, you can be better than someone who has been here for 20 years and have always been the same job for 20 years. I want to really say this. So for me, if you tell me that you have 25 years of experience in tech, I say, okay, good for you, but what did you do? So what you do in this job, it really matters. Try to find a job that you really like, that you're not doing so much repetitive stuff. Try to always find something that can always make you level up. My advice, it will be that once you find the first job, don't stop, of course, if you can, and always find some time to stay up to date, to read an article, to watch a video, and limit that. I'm not saying learn everything. The opposite. I made the mistake of saying, okay, I want to learn all the front-end frameworks. Probably one of the worst decisions of my career, because I was not on social media. I said, okay, so let's learn all the 3 frameworks. And I made the 3 courses. The problem is that in tech, frameworks are not dead. It's not a math theorem. They are alive. The React framework is alive. If you stop coding in React for 2 years, it's not just about forgetting the React code. React is evolving. So I can barely keep with the updates for Docker, and I check this almost every day. So you can't stay up to date to everything in tech. So be picky, decide what you want to learn, and then you go in that direction. Honestly, the best days of my learning when I said, okay, so let's don't learn this. Let's remove this bookmark. Let's decide that I want to stop learning this course, because this takes a decision. Otherwise, we don't have unlimited. We wish we had unlimited time, but we need to decide. And I think that once you find your first job, everything becomes 10 times easier. Once you start getting your first experience. So don't give up. Tech is amazing. Don't do as me, that I started the being active on social media after 3-4 years. I don't tell you to become to staying 4 hours, 5 hours on Twitter while you are learning. I will not suggest this because I had already experienced when I joined social media. So I would say, let's create the basic stuff, create your GitHub profile, your portfolio, and don't focus on just social media and stuff. Keep work on the learning part and trying to get your first role. Once you get your first role, I think things will become easier for you. And of course, good luck. I would say join a community, don't join 100 communities, join some communities and try to be active there. This is what I would highly recommend. Tech is amazing. Share about your journey. If you just use your social media and you share your journey, I think that this is something that can help you to be connected with more people.
Definitely.
That's it.
No,
Good luck, everyone.
Awesome tip. Yeah. I love the community part, and you saying that you're not alone in this journey. You'll find many others who are on a similar path. They're trying to break into tech, get their first role, and might be learning same tech as you. So yeah, join. I would really break it down to like maybe 2 or 3 communities where you feel belonged and you feel like you're comfortable and you can talk to others. And yeah, it'll do, like, once you get your first role, you'll know way more about the industry itself, and you can always brag about it on Twitter, and we'll be there to cheer you up and celebrate. So yeah, amazing tip. I always say, I know me and Francesco, we shared the mic on a Twitter space recently, which was about DevRel, and I always say, like, learn together and like grow together. And I think that goes like that's the beauty of the tech community. So not taking further time from your day, I'll link down Francesco's socials down below. So his YouTube channel, he's pretty active on Twitter. I've seen him posting also on LinkedIn sometimes. So yeah, go check out his videos. I know he did a recent one on DevRel, which is 3 types of DevRel, which I feel is like a funny take, but also like entertaining, while also explaining tech. So that is an awesome video. Go check it out. It was just released today. With that, I'll end this episode and hope you all enjoyed and loved the insights that Francesco brought. Thank you, Francesco, for coming in.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me. Bye, everyone.
Bye.